Game Pass is not profitable. Game Pass is profitable. They didn't add the reduction and the deduction of the blah blah cost, the blah 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 blah. To be honest, as a gamer, that shouldn't matter to you. It doesn't matter to me. As a YouTuber, it does, because I talk about the gaming industry and the analysis. And those of you who are interested, at least, you can basically get or glean the information. Because some people also, it probably is concerning to them that how is it possible that they're giving all these games for such a, in their mind, small fee? It's like y'all are begging for them to raise the cost. Ooh, y'all need to be quiet. So what I need to basically highlight today is there are a lot of sheep who are engaged in a gaming conversation. I don't say that I don't mean to belittle you. I'm just talking about the reality that in human society, we're all impressionable to an extent. And some people more than ever, and I gotta say it this way, I don't mean to throw you in a box, but I've noticed that many PlayStation fanboys, you all fall into this category. These talking heads continue to run you like the Pied Piper, and you dance and follow. Look at what Christopher Drink did to y'all just in 19 hours. Man, that's insane. And y'all already knew that he is notorious for doing that, but you already have a deep-seated bias, and he knows the strings to tug at. Even for those who are even in the conversation, and even those who are in Xbox side, we all responded, or in some cases, some reacted. So he literally got what he needed for the attention and the boost and the algo, bump that he needed. But many of us weren't fooled. That's why when we responded with sense, the details, the data, and we gave sound analysis that he eventually came out to say, let me clarify, and clarified using all of the analysis that Xbox had given him 18 months ago, knowing fully well that the service is profitable because the games are not relegated to just Xbox. They've always been selling on Steam, even before PlayStation. But he made it seem like, well, they also go to PlayStation, so they have sales. No, he's clearly obfuscating. But let me show you how to be obfuscation proof, how to be bait proof from these baiters. Here's what you need to do. Get yourself one of the AI modules, run some analysis. You can simply put a prompt like I did here, which is, in this case with ChatGPT, I said, gather some data based on publicly available information, including leaks, and create a model for Xbox Game Pass and its profitability. This is going to pretty much crawl the internet for you. You don't even have to do anything anymore. Okay? You don't have to worry about it. As an educator, I don't even bother setting many traditional assignments anymore. Because if you do that, your students are going to run home and use these models. So a lot of my work are scenario-based right there. I mean, I've had to modify it. So these tools are available for you is what I'm saying, and leverage them. You don't have some teacher on your neck saying you can't use an AI model. No, you can. It's a call. It basically, gathers and, pulls data together. So when we look at Copilot, we look at ChatGPT and DeepSeek, which I guess is using somewhat of ChatGPT's similar whatever, according to reports. Allegedly. I don't know what's going on there. Xbox Game Pass talks about the model and the structure, the subscription revenue. Around 2021, 2.9 billion console-only Game Pass revenue. WCCF Tech is the source from ChatGPT. As of 2024 February, 34 million. And then it does an ARPU, which is average revenue per user. It weighs it based on core and standard and estimates it to around $11.50 to $13 a month, which the Game Pass Score person is paying like $10 a month. Game Pass PC is paying like $12 a month. Game Pass Ultimate is paying $19.99 a month. Those who are buying on CD keys are paying an average of about $11 a month. That's where this number is coming from. But a lot of people, before I even continue, don't even use Game Pass, so they don't even know that there are a lot of ways that you can use Game Pass. Some people don't even pay for it. Their playtime actually pays for their Game Pass subscriptions. So that's why we have to run the estimates and bump that ultimate number significantly down to account for those proxies. And when you do so, you will realize that the base case is around $5 billion. DeepSeek is being even more conservative, while ChatGPT is giving you a $5.13 billion per year, a data set that it's getting from Statista, based on the ARPU. And in the case of DeepSeek is estimating $4.9 billion. Either way you look at it, they're all sitting in the $5 billion ballpark of Game Pass per year. Contribution to the gaming segment. 18 to 23% of Xbox's revenue, contribution in its revenue into its $16 billion gaming revenue. So all of these people that were asking the question, so if they put in the development cost and blah, 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 you got to remember that was a very interesting, well-laid comment to bait you into raging. Because some of you got exposed yesterday. Just call it what it is. Christopher Drink really bore y'all naked. He stripped down the facade, and some of you were running around the streets looking for leaves to hide the shame. Yes, that's what the man did. He literally he puppeteered y'all, man. You guys were dangling off the ropes and dancing to the tune. But I'm trying my best to see if we can help you understand how you don't fall into these traps anymore. This says costs. ChatGPT, third-party licensing over $1 billion a year. First-party game development estimated at $750 million a year, half of $1.5 billion spend, NeoGAF. Marketing and promotions, $300 million a year. Operational costs with Azure bandwidth support, estimated $450 million a year from NeoGAF. It's just gathering information around. Total estimated annual cost, $2.5 billion. Could range to $2 to $3 billion, depending on big launches and efficiencies. The revenue around $5 billion minus cost, approximately $2.6 billion. This is ChatGPT's numbers. These are not even Copilot's numbers. Right? These are not Copilot's numbers. The margin that is being given with Copilot is somewhere around a conservative, optimistic case operating profit, $1.5 billion. Base case, $800 million in profit, 16% margin. And in the optimistic case of about $5.5 billion and an operating cost of about $4 billion. Copilot's even going crazy with a $4 billion cost. There's still $1 billion left, a 27% margin. DeepSeek, what are you saying over here? Let's see what DeepSeek is coming up with in its own conclusion margin. $980 million, a 20% profit margin. If you're not going to take the time to type one sentence into an AI model just to give yourself an idea, these numbers are not accurate. They are far from accurate, but they give you a glaring picture that you could have estimated before you let Christopher Drink or any other talking head drag you through the coals of social media bait, and you would have had yourself a solid answer. You all are reading this whole layoffs from the perspective of Game Pass is not profitable, whatever, or anything that you've been told in your little, console war circle. But here's the problem. You didn't even take the other possible interpretation, which is if Microsoft could go ahead and fire its staff even while being profitable, why would it keep Game Pass if Game Pass was not profitable? Did you ever wait to ask yourself that question? But some people are not necessarily interested. I already told you all that if Game Pass is already bringing in this much money for them, 20%, 16% margin. PlayStation is running on PlayStation is running on 7% margin. That's the entire PlayStation brand is running at 7% margin. Game Pass alone is estimated at the most conservative to be running at 16% in its operational margin, in its operational profit. If they get 40 million subs, it's over. Let me go ahead and show you that scenario. Look at it right here. Calculate a model based on 40 million subscribers. 40 million subscribers, 50M and 60M. And I'm going to paste it into the different language models so that we can see what the percentage, what is it doing? Control C, Control V. Uh-oh, I got to actually copy and now paste and now paste. Let's go. Let's see what it does. Let's see what it does. Let's scale the models based on a 40 to 50 to $60 million calculation cost and profits. Let's see what that looks like from a profit perspective. Look at that. Give me percentages. Let's do percentages. The profit margin at 40 million subs, ChatGPT is estimating it to be 50.3%. Oh my gosh. The games media is being accused of facing irrelevancy with a service like this because you could just go in there and play majority of the games that are coming out for a small fee without having to deal with any of their opinions. Not only that, they're getting bodied by the fact that their readership is low and there's a change. One day, even YouTube will probably be irrelevant. If this is probably not a suspicion of them basically understanding that they're going the way of nobody cares, I don't know what else is. At 50 million subs, Game Pass is at 56.3% profit margin. At 60 million subs, it's at 59.7% profit margin. Ladies and gentlemen, I got to tell you, there is work in understanding this business and the value proposition. And this is all hypothetical. This is all scenario. This is all analysis. This is the stuff they hire people for. This is why AI has basically become a bane in a lot of people's existence, because this is the job that people used to do, and they used to hire people to go ahead and sit there and do predictions. Now they have machine models that could do this stuff. They've had them for years. It's just now being much more, available to everybody. Do you hear me? So now, how do you basically go ahead and, deal with all of this stuff when there's secrecy and they don't want to give you money? You go and pay very close attention to what the execs are saying. Fiscal statements about profitability, they are obligated to actually be transparent. That's why Xbox actually clarified to drink. And that's why even Destin went and also got some statements as well, because if they lie about it, it's a huge liability. Are y'all seeing what I'm seeing here? And so when people say Game Pass has stagnated, what you're saying is Microsoft is only eating about 16% profit on Game Pass, of which it's been stagnating since 21 million subs. Yeah, right. Let it finish out this year with all the games that are coming out like Ninja Gaiden and by holiday Call of Duty. Let's see how that works. If they even add 5 more million from February of last year to December of this year, all of the critics are cooked. Like they are absolutely blown out of the water. If they add an extra 10 million in those 5 million a year apiece in those 2 years, or if they go 8 million, this is why I told y'all to criticize PlayStation to answer. They have built a world where Xbox is now basically the biggest gaming arm in the world on subscription, on content, and next up, they're going for hardware and services. You really think PlayStation is going to be relevant? Y'all really think that? Y'all really think Nintendo is going to be relevant when the $3 trillion company said, let's go in on gaming? And their chief financial officer wrote an $80 billion check. They're now going in on AI and they're about to write another check. Do you guys really think these guys don't know how to run a business? These people running these companies are the 1% of the 1% of human population in the way that they actually think about these things. Phil Spencer, his is a very unique case because he's brilliant in a multifaceted way. I told you that he will wear jeans, t-shirt, and a jacket and body every single one of you. just because he's adept at understanding the way the gaming industry works. He's the guy that jumps into his game sessions with gamers. He knows how gamers think. He knows exactly what gamers want. That's why Xbox gamers are not complaining about Game Pass. Rather, PlayStation gamers are complaining why they don't have Game Pass. Y'all are about to see. Please continue bowing down to PlayStation's anti-consumer. And those of you on the Nintendo side, I'll leave you out of this conversation today. Enjoy your Switch too. But you all have created you've basically created a monster. You didn't demand more from PlayStation. You let them get away with mediocrity. Now, after they pushed the bear all the way back to the wall, they poked it, and now it's turned around and it's about to respond. Their games are flying to Xbox. Clearly, a lot of you are very, very misinformed. Go and inform yourself. Inform yourselves. It'll help. Thank you for watching the video. Peace out.